Well, this is the SsangYong Musso XLV, or extra long vehicle, the long wheelbase version of the Q200 series, and this is the 2021 model, and which is really pretty much just this renewed fascia at the front and some different design on the wheels. Pretty much the same vehicle that came out in 2019. So XLV, extra long vehicle, that means it's got a wheelbase that's about 110 millimeters longer than the short wheelbase version, and it also has a leaf spring rear end as opposed to coil springs in the short wheelbase, and that makes it more focused as a workhorse type of vehicle. And when you look at it, it's quite a large vehicle. It's about the same size as a Ford Ranger dual cab ute. And when you look at the length of these two doors, the rear door is almost the same length of the front, and that gives you a good insight into how much room it has in the back. It's got a very, very spacious back seat. Now this extended wheelbase, of course, that's also resulted in a much bigger load tub at the back. It's, well, certainly SsangYong claims it's the longest load tub in its class, and it's perfectly square as well. So it's got a lot of volume, a lot of carrying capacity. And the leaf spring rear end, that also gives it superior load carrying capabilities, and it's genuinely over 1 ton in terms of its load rating. And it can tow up to 3.5 ton. So it certainly ticks all the boxes there. Overall, it's a very impressive vehicle. It's well made, well put together. I think the only contentious issue is how it looks, because there's a lot of people we've spoken to, and it's hard to find someone who really likes the appearance, and that's pretty much the only weak link so far. So anyway, let's just see how she goes. Okay, underway in the SsangYong Musso XLV, and just a reminder, this is the ELX, or the base specification, but it certainly doesn't feel like it when you're sitting inside. It's got some really nice high quality materials used in the interior trim, a nice contrast of surfaces, so it doesn't feel like you're driving around in the base model, that's for sure. So it's powered by SsangYong's own 2.2 litre 4-cylinder turbo diesel engine, and it has about 133 kilowatts and 420 newton meters of torque. So even though that may not be class leading, it's certainly adequate, and it performs exceptionally well. The torque band between 1600 and 2600, that's peak torque, between 1600 and 2600 RPM, is 1000 RPM wide, so it's a very, very flexible power plant, and we have tested it with pretty much a ton in the load tub, and it performed really, really well, particularly on climbing hills. So even though those numbers may not seem, well, they aren't class leading, they're certainly enough to get the job done. And you have a choice of either a 6-speed manual gearbox or 6-speed automatic, ASIN automatic, like we have in this example today. It's also got a part-time dual range 4-wheel drive drivetrain, and there's also a automatic locking differential. So as a package, it's really, really good. I mean, the build quality is really impressive, and you feel that inside and out, the way the vehicle's put together. As I said, the quality of the materials used in the interior and the seating, and particularly I made reference before to a very, very spacious rear seat. It's a very, very comfortable vehicle if you have to carry a crew, and that's always a good thing to have if you've got more than 2 people you need to cart around. But to drive, it's just a really nice thing to drive. I mean, there's no flaws in it. It just feels really good. The steering's nice and light without being too light, like it's responsive, and the brakes have good feel. It's got good ride quality, particularly given this has got a leaf spring rear end that's capable of taking a 1-ton payload. It rides the bumps really well, so it's very much car-like to drive. It's certainly quiet, and that diesel engine is very, very economical. We've got some remarkable figures out of it driving it unloaded and laden, and that's under 10 litres per 100 kilometres, which is outstanding economy for a vehicle that can carry this sort of load. So the verdict, well, it really does everything well. The only thing I think that lets it down is the styling, because as I said, we've spoken to a number of people and no one really likes the look of it, and that's a real shame. You know, there's an old saying in the auto industry that no one ever decided not to buy a vehicle because it was too good looking. And that certainly applies in the opposite with this vehicle, because this is an excellent vehicle that perhaps a lot of people are passing over because they don't like the look of it. And that's a real shame, because for less than $37,000 you get a lot of truck for not a lot of money. So hopefully one day SsangYong will fix the styling, because otherwise this is an outstanding vehicle.